and welcome back to our tutorial series on Ultimate Survival, and that's from Winterbyte. It's the kit that's going to help us make our own survival game. And in the last video we had the introduction to the survival kit and what we're going to be getting up to in the tutorial series later on. Now we also had a play about with the sample scene that you get. We had a lot of fun getting chased by pigs and chopping up zombies. So in this video we're going to be doing the first step in the tutorial, which is how to set up a scene, followed by how to add a new item, or the data only, as it says in the manual. Now we've downloaded the manual and I've printed it off, and I'm going to be going through it with you. But first of all, I wanted to go on the asset store and have a look at a couple of free assets to play about with in the tutorial, so we don't have to pay for anything. And I found this lovely kit. It's called Hand Painted Nature Kit Light, and it's from the Scythian Cat. Now, it looks really pretty in the images, and it's for free, so I figured why not, I'll give it a go. And I also found the RPG inventory icons by Alexander, I can't pronounce your last name, and these look really beautiful. You get 25 of them in this free asset download, and it's obviously an intro for you to be able to have a look at the quality of these work when you buy these other packs. But I mean, in itself, 25 really high quality icons, and I want to have a play with them. I like this axe, so I'm going to use this in our little tutorial, and I'll keep the 3D axe that you get with Ultimate Survival, but we'll just import our own icons. So we're going to get into Unity and we're going to have a play. So I've imported the two assets. You can see the Scythian Cat folder here and the RPG inventory icons, and here's the axe I like so much, and a load of other ones. I mean, the quality of them, they look fantastic. And let's go into Scythian Cat, open up the demo scene, and it's all blue. We're underground, so here we go. So this is our world that we're going to be playing about with in the tutorial. Looks pretty, looks nice, bit bright, but good enough for us to have a play with. The tutorial on page 4 on how to set up a scene talks about the game objects that you need to have in your scene for Ultimate Survival to work, and they're in resources and scene base. But we don't have to worry about dragging things in, because we can go up to the top, Ultimate Survival, click Add, click Base Scene Objects, and everything will be imported for us in our scene. In the manual though, it talks about Ultimate Survival and click Create. Now there isn't a create, it's add. Don't let that put you off. It's very simple. Add base scene objects, and away we go. So now we've got our time of day, our mail object, in-game GUI, and our game controller. Right, so I've double clicked on my mail player icon, and he's quite far away from anything else in the scene. So let's grab this stump, let's copy its coordinates, and let's put a player right next to it by pasting in the values. So if we find our player, we can see he's on top of this stump. Now in the scene I've still got the original camera that we got with our sample scene, so let's delete it so there's no conflicts, and let's click play and see what our player gets up to. Okay, is in this sample. Well, we can play about with the lighting, make it not so radioactive. It's been a bit of a nuclear fallout maybe, and that's probably why we've got zombies running around, so it all makes sense. Everything's glowing in the future. That looks good. Now I'm just going to bring the intensity of the light down a little bit so it doesn't blind us as we're playing and running around. Okay, that's good. So we've added Ultimate Survival to our existing scene, and now we're going to add a new item into our game. Now as we've got Ultimate Survival imported, we do get given some data already entered into project. So if I go to item management and we see here the categories list, this is in from the sample that we've been given from Ultimate Survival. So we don't have to worry about adding in resources or consumables. We've even got items already put in for us. So obviously for your game you can delete all of these and start adding in your own ones. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to leave them as is, and we'll add a new one ourselves. But let's have a look at the existing ones that we've got here. So before I start playing with the items, I want to open up the property editor and see property editor and all the different values that an item could use. So the main ones really for our consumables are going to be health change, thirst change and hunger change, and these are random integers, so when you eat, when you consume something, it will give us a positive health change. Now I'm assuming also we could do a negative health change by putting, so we can play about with that later. Durability, as my wife said to me, that the word I was looking for, my gun does not have health, it's the durability of my gun. That was the green bar going down, so I feel like a bit of a tit. Okay, so we're going to go back to the item editor and we're going to find our consumables and we're going to add some meat. Now I want to put pork leg because we don't have decent icon for sausages. I wanted to do sausages, but we're going to have pork leg. And display name, I'm going to put pork leg. Now the icon, we're going to find that nice meat icon that we downloaded earlier. Put meat, and here it is. So meat. Now world object, this is the prefab that gets dropped in the game. So if I take something out of my inventory like we saw in the introduction, that we'll get a bag. If I click here we can see this is the bag model. Now I'm just going to leave that as is at the moment. Obviously you can change it to wherever you want. We could change it to a bone, but let's leave it as the bag. Now it's obviously not a bottle of water, it's just copied over the descriptions and the values. So I'm going to call this tasty meaty leg. And how many can we have in a stack? Well, they're quite big, so you should only be able to have about 6 in a stack. Now restores, you see these here are the, well, it's just like you coding on your website really, isn't it? We've got HTML tags that we can say the colour, and that's the colour olive, and here is the placeholder for how much health we're going to get restored. Now don't restore. First it's hunger, or hunger rather than hunger. So if we want to add more in the description we could here, but we're going to go over to properties. It's not thirst change, it's going to be hunger change, and it's a nice big pork leg, so it'll be random number from 15 to 20. You can consume it, that's correct. We want consume sound, we don't want to be drinking water, we'll have the eating one. And well, I'm also going to add, because it's a nice big bit of meat, we'll have a health change as well, and it will be a random between 7 and, I don't know, let's have 10 and 6. Now, is it placeable? This is the flag that we're going to tick if we want to be making an item such as a forge or a table. So even though we are going to be cooking the meat to create a pork leg, we're not going to tick it's craftable because that's not really relevant for the food. So when we're in the game and we look at our inventory, we'll see tasty meaty leg, we'll see how much it restores, we'll see the icon for the meat. But the problem we've got now is we've got a pork leg, we don't know how to cook this pork leg. So I'm going to click on the plus, and now we've got 2 pork legs. So one of these we're going to have to change to being cooked, and one of these will be raw. So let's go back to the first one, and I'll make this one a raw pork leg. So a raw pork, and I'll call it No, I'll leave it as raw pork leg. I was going to change it to raw leg of pork, but nah. So, icon. Should we leave it as the meat icon? Okay, for now, we'll just leave it as the meat icon. And we'll have the description as fleshy, meaty leg of pork. And we're going to get rid of this health change. Actually, can we put a negative? Let's try it and see if we end up breaking things. -5 to -10. And we'll add another property called burn time, and we'll put a value of how long it takes to cook. Let's say 3, and let's put burn result. So for the burn result, we'll take the name pork leg, and as it's a big pork leg, it'll take longer to cook, so let's change the 5 into a 15. And, well, let's them stack more of them, more raw than cooked. Actually, it should be the other way around, but that'd be fine. So now we've got our raw pork leg and our pork leg. Okay, let's call it a cooked pork leg. Cooked pork leg. Cooked pork leg. And we'll have to change this again here, as our result would be a cooked pork leg. So we've got a raw pork leg, that's the meat icon, the bag pickup, you can have 10 of those in the stack, it's a fleshy meaty leg of pork, and it's got a hunger change of 15 to 20. Well, actually it's a bit of raw meat, so let's put that down to 5 to 10. You can consume raw pork. I wouldn't really advise it. It's got a consuming sound of him eating. It's got a negative health change. That's us mucking about to see what's going to happen. And we've got a burn time. It'll take 15 minutes to cook, or 15 seconds to cook rather. And it's got a burn result, which means when it's finished, it will output a cooked pork leg. Yum yum. Now I've paused the video after I said yum yum, and I ran off to Photoshop because I really couldn't bear having a cooked pork leg icon that looked exactly the same as the raw pork leg. So when I was in Photoshop, I edited the pork leg, and I've now made my own cooked meat. So it's not great, but it's a little bit darker. It's got some lines on it, and it actually looks like it's more raw than the raw meat does, but at least it looks different. So now when we've got it in our inventory, we can actually see there's a bit of a difference between the cooked meat and the raw meat. So let's close this and let's try to work out how we add the raw meat in our game so we can pick it up, and we'll add a cooked meat pickup in the game so we can pick it up, just so we can have a look at it in our inventory. And then later on we'll do a tutorial on how we can get raw meat and how we can cook it, and we can then turn it into the cooked pork leg. So I want us to pop over into the prefabs folder and pickups, and let's have a look at the bag prefab. Now the bag prefab has got everything you would expect. It's got mesh renderer, rigid body, collider, and at the bottom it's got here a custom script called item pickup. Now this is just the default one, so default items blank. Now I'm just going to drag this over into here. You've all got better ways of doing this probably. I mean, not called the messy coder because I do things in the most elegant way. I do things in possibly the worst possible way. So, I've got my bag, I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to change the name of this to be pork leg. Actually, it was raw pork leg. And I'm just going to copy that so I don't have to type it again, because I'm a bit lazy. Now, if we scroll down to here, we could actually have any kind of prefab we want and add this item pickup script to it, but for now we'll just use this one. So I'm going to stick here in the default item the name that we had in the item management. So if you remember, we went consumables, it's raw pork leg, raw pork leg. So they've got a name here, display name. This is a name here that you're going to be calling, and the display name can be anything we want. We could have a sexy pork leg, porky pig's leg, or whatever you want. But for now, it's just raw pork leg, pork leg. So now, if we drop this pork leg into our world, and I click play, let's see what happens. Should doesn't pick it up. So what have we got wrong? Well, I've got my raw pork leg, I've got my I see, I've got an raw pork leg. There you go, raw pork leg. Always have a play and then come back to see what you've done. Now you probably were screaming at the monitor saying you've missed the R out. That's because I can't pronounce my R's. So it makes perfect sense. So here we go again. And now we can knock it over. It says raw pork leg. If I pick it up by pushing E, tab from my inventory, we've got a raw pork leg. Fleshy, meaty leg of pork. Here's our pork leg icon. So it says restores 5 to 10 hunger. Now, we also oh no, it was the cooked one that restores the health. So I wonder what if we get that one appearing as well. So let's pause, let's get out of here, and let's make another one. And I'm just gonna, again, chuck that in here, get rid of that, and change the name of this one to be the cooked pork leg. And let's have a look, and I've got my cooked pork leg, and oh, hang on, I'll just dump it next to it. So let's see, get rid of that, it's annoying me. We've got our raw leg, we've got our cooked. Let's pick them both up. And now you see two different icons if I click tab. Yay! And we can see it does look a bit different, and you can see how bad my Photoshop skills are. Now it restores 15 to 20 hunger, also restores health. Doesn't show us it here. Let's consume. Oh, and there is the munching noise I had. So this is, if we consume the raw leg, it's supposed to make us ill. Let's see if it reduces our health. Ah, that didn't work. We'll have to come back and play with that later. Well, I thought we were being cheeky giving it a go. So, obviously, I've done something wrong there. Well, that's why we do these tutorials. We're playing together. We're just experimenting, but we're having fun. So, I'm going to delete these two from my scene. So now we're going to see why when we had our cooked pork leg selected in our inventory, we didn't see that it restored both health and hunger. Now come on, we all know why that is, and I left it out when we were editing. So we'll go here to consumables, cooked pork leg, and see here it says restores 0 hunger. That's because in this array, obviously here we've got 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's select this, paste it underneath, change that to be 3, which is our fourth option, health change, and put that to be health. So restores hunger, restores health. And before we go, let's change the raw pork leg, and say that it reduces by reduces health. Health by, there you go. That looks a bit better. So let's drop in a raw one along with our cooked one, and let's pick up our cooked pork leg, raw pork leg, check them out. So our cooked pork leg restores 15 to 20 hunger and restores 6 to 10 health. Nice. Our raw pork leg, on the other hand, only restores 5 to 10 hunger and reduces health by, interesting, 5 to 10. So it doesn't show the negative values here. That will be why it wasn't reducing our health down when we consume it. Interesting. We can play with that later. So for this tutorial, we've managed to have our own existing scene, import Ultimate Survival, create our own items for consumables, which were the raw pork leg, the cooked pork leg. We also made these lovely prefabs so that we can pick them up in the game, and in Ultimate Survival it calls them item pickups. So later on in these tutorials we'll put a forge in, a little furnace or cooker, a stove, whatever, and we'll cook ourselves the raw pork leg, and we'll turn it in to a cooked pork leg, and maybe we might even put a little piggy running around. Now I really want some sausage models, so I'm going to run off and see if I can get hold of some sausages for the next tutorial. Well, that's me for tonight. It's a bit late and I'm going to bed, so I'll see you all tomorrow. Good night.